Today's Anxiety Slayer podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Are stress and anxiety interfering with your happiness? Have you been considering seeing a therapist, but you're not sure where to start? BetterHelp will assess your counseling needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist so you can start getting the support you need online in under 24 hours. Special offer for Anxiety Slayer listeners: get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/slayer. That's betterhelp.com/slayer. Welcome back to the Anxiety Slayer podcast. Today, Ananga and I are discussing the first mistake we make when anxiety strikes and what you can do to calm your mind and get back to living your life. Hey, Ananga.
Hey, Shan.
So good to be with you again this week. I hope that you're getting all settled into your new space and enjoying the springtime.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm finally seeing buds on trees here in northern Michigan and daffodils and things that you've been seeing a little bit more before we have. Our spring is a little slow, but it's been nice and the sun's out today, and just incredibly grateful for all of the blooming that's going on.
Oh, God, yeah, such a thing to celebrate and savor. It's always feels so hopeful, doesn't it? And calming, that green, seeing the green come back.
Yeah, and all of our cherry blossoms are in bloom now, so I'll be sure to get some pictures and share those.
Oh, beautiful.
So lovely. So in your opinion, what is the first mistake that we make with anxiety?
In my opinion and my experience, we just get caught in the thoughts. We get caught right up in the thoughts and think we can think our way out.
Which is just never the case.
No, and it's such an awful, muddling experience that just feeds right back into the anxiety. We take the anxious thoughts seriously, we believe the propaganda, and then we start trying to think around it, and it's just feeding right back in.
Yeah, very sticky, very, you get very stuck in it, and the persistence and the regeneration and the looping around and all of the stuff that we've all experienced is not going to break free. We're not going to be able to break free from that by thinking about it some more.
No, and that's what we tend to try and do. Yeah.
What we also know is that these thoughts are incredibly resistant to change. They tend to be very stubborn. Anxious thoughts are stubborn, they're hard to shift, and they love to break into our peaceful moments. And if we try to push them away or force ourselves to not think about something that's worrying us, it seems like that anxious thought will often just bounce back with even more energy, more veracity. It's just something else.
Yeah, sometimes I think of it like mental tennis. You're trying to hit that ball back that keeps coming at you, and then it just comes right back over the net. And we've talked about this before, how anxiety has a kind of energy, a crackle in the mind, and these thoughts really are. It's almost like a thunderstorm sometimes, I think, in your head, this crackling energy that comes up. And the more we try and suppress it and push it away, the more it just builds and comes right back at us.
Which is why we see so many often resorting to escapism, numbing out, doing anything that we can to distract ourselves. But it seems like the anxiety is always there waiting for us, right at the door. Just wait, like, hello.
Yeah.
Welcome back. Nice try.
Yeah, and depending on what we're using to try and numb out or distract, again, that can feed into it. So if we're scrolling or playing video games or doing things that are vata disturbing, increasing that energy that Ayurveda teaches that hosts anxiety and provokes anxiety, then it's going to be waiting even stronger. And we get so exhausted then.
Yeah.
When that happens. And it takes a bit of energy and a bit of planning and action to come away from anxiety and come away from anxious thoughts. So when we're distracting ourselves and we're using a fizzy kind of distracted energy, to do that, to try and just not think, stop thinking, think about something else. Or we talk about trying to get out of our head, but it's all there waiting for us.
Yeah. Our thoughts can create anxiety, but they seldom can reverse anxiety. And remembering that and allowing ourselves to do some of the other things that we know to do, the practices that we continue to share and talk about in order to help you get out of that loop and that cycle. Because we can't, as Albert Einstein says, we can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking that we used to create them.
Yeah. And that's definitely what we do with anxiety. We have these very frenetic dialogues that come up, and we're trying to make sense of it and trying to stop it. And we start objecting to it, resenting it. Why do I feel like this? I don't like feeling like this. And all of it is a response that increases anxiety. So we need to change it out, and we need support to do that.
Let's talk about what we can do instead of thinking.
Anxiety can be a very painful secret and a very implosive experience where we really can turn in on ourselves and have all this energy and symptoms and thoughts firing off inside us while we're just trying to get through the day, get through our jobs, deal with our personal lives and relationships. And often with anxiety, we feel that we really need to be seen to be coping and to be functional. And there's a lot of intense internal pressure that goes with that when everything's kicking off inside. And we're just trying to carry on and look regular and do our jobs and deal with the things we need to deal with. So what really helps to relieve that pressure of anxiety and its relentless thoughts is to get it out, to not explode rather than implode, but to release, to externalize it, to get it out of our heads in a safe and self-respecting way.
And after the break, we'll talk about how you can do that, how you can release anxious thoughts with lots of self-love and care and respect. Today's Anxiety Slayer podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Are stress and anxiety interfering with your happiness and preventing you from living your best life? There have been a few times in my life where I've needed some extra support and wish I'd had an option for online support. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. To be clear, BetterHelp is not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It is professional counseling done securely online, and their service is available for clients worldwide. You get timely and thoughtful responses, plus you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions so you don't have to leave your home. It's more affordable than traditional in-person counseling, and financial aid is available. You can start living a happier life today. Special offer for Anxiety Slayer listeners. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/slayer. That's betterhelp.com/slayer. Let's talk about how to release anxious thoughts. Where do we get started?
We start by airing them out where it's safe to do so. It's a really important first step in finding relief is just getting help to get them out. We talk about this a lot, just get them out of your head in a way that feels safe and where you have guidance and help to do that. We need to stop trying to think our way out and start taking action to understand our anxiety, get to know our anxiety and understand it, understand how it works, understand what's provoking it, and then learn how we can release it. And there are a variety of ways to do it, and some will appeal more than others. So we need to have a look and look at what feels right for us, consider the options.
I am so incredibly grateful for my husband on the days where I'm feeling particularly spun, and just being able to share it and release it, and to know that I can do so without judgment and with unconditional love.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, while I'm so incredibly grateful for his support, or yours, of course, I'm very, very lucky to have a best friend who also has all of these wonderful resources at her fingertips and in her heart. But what I'm getting at is as much as it's wonderful to have people that you love and trust to talk to, sometimes we need to work with a counselor, like the people at BetterHelp, or work with an anxiety coach like us to get help from someone who's been there and can offer support and techniques to help you calm your anxiety, to just go right to the source and get that help.
Yeah, really worth doing. And just to have somebody that understands what you're going through, because when we're trying to think our way out of anxiety, we get more pretzeled up. Sometimes I think of it like a fly stuck in a web. And, there might be one wing stuck, but then as you're trying to wriggle out, you stick a leg and you're back and another wing, and you get more and more stuck. And with anxiety, I really feel that happens in our minds. We get more confused and more helpless sometimes, and feel hopeless sometimes. We
Yeah.
just get more and more stuck in anxiety's web. And it's really a wonderful thing to be able to go to somebody that gets that and isn't going to judge you. They're going to completely accept you in all your wonderful resourcefulness as a complete whole human being, not think you're broken,
Right.
not think that there's something wrong, just to support this experience of anxiety, what's happening with anxiety, and start getting to work with it.
And both approaches absolutely have their merits, and it can be helpful to try a session and see how you feel. We tend to have very stigmatized viewpoints of mental health in the West. And while it's getting better, we still use terms like disorder rather than the more compassionate response of understanding the cause and effect of disturbance in the mind. Our minds are fragile. We talk about this all the time. Every single human being has a fragile mind. It's just how we handle things, it's how we move through life. Some of us are more sensitive than others. Some of us who are more vata than others might need a little bit of extra help. But let's remember, anxiety is a response. Trauma is a response. It's often a situational reaction or a result of the cumulative stress that gets to a tipping point. And so even if we have an anxious nature, it's not a flaw or a disorder. It's a tendency. It's a part of who you are, and it can be supported, and it should be supported.
Really important to begin with compassion, to receive compassionate support, and to show yourself compassionate support. Anxiety doesn't mean we're broken.
Mm-mm.
It means we're struggling with something that can be helped and deserves to be helped.
I think the example of a child who is absolutely certain that there's a monster under the bed is a great way to think about it, because that's how anxiety can hold us in a state of fear like that,
Mm-hmm.
where, oh my goodness, if you think about it that way, talking to somebody turns the light on, makes things safer, it feels safer again. And when we have the opportunity with help to explore our patterns, our anxiety patterns, and what's happening, and discover ways to show up for ourselves, we can absolutely learn how to feel more calm and in control with that kind of support.
Yeah, definitely. And again, if you think of a child that's feeling fearful about a monster under the bed, that's a very lonely, often experience.
Oh, yeah.
When a child can go to a parent and say, Dad, can you check? Mum, can you check? And get that support, it changes everything. But often a child won't feel they can do that.
Right.
So I remember when I was a kid having a whole thing about a hand coming out under my bed, and I'd like tuck myself up in the middle of the bed, so there was no possibility of contacting the edge. And that went on for months.
And while you were doing that, I was sticking my foot out just to see if it was going to get grabbed or not. I have no idea, kind of taunting the monster.
different approaches.
Yeah, heaven's sakes, right?
It's lucky we weren't sharing a room, because if my hand had touched your foot,
Yeah, right.
I'd have been a freak out.
Yeah, right.
But it's all fear fiction.
Yeah, it is.
And to the child that's exploring or retreating, it's very, very real.
Yeah.
And very, very scary. So yeah, we need to shine that light, and we need to voice, we need to speak. We need somewhere safe where we can say, hey, I'm worried there's something under my bed, and we're not going to get called stupid.
Yeah.
We're going to be met with compassion, and we're going to be met with support, because that fear feels real, and that's
Sure.
a horrible experience. So as adults, we need to be able to go to a friend and say, this is really freaking me out, or I'm just, even if we think it sounds stupid, it's got us. We're in that fear web, so we need to be able to go to somebody, whether it's a friend, a partner, a professional, a coach, and say, I'm really struggling with this, and we need to air it out.
Yeah.
And shine the light on it, and then put it in perspective, and have support to ground and strengthen our mind and build trust and build peace. And that can all be done. It's all doable, which anxiety will tell you it isn't.
Right. Writing also helps.
Yeah.
Journaling, another way of getting the thoughts that are buzzing around in your head out. You can journal, you can do some free writing, whatever it is you need to do to release those thoughts on the page. And as we also talk so much about walking and talking being another way to externalize and move anxious thoughts. We often retreat to the island of our bed when we're feeling anxious.
Yeah.
And while I can tell you that certainly there are days when that's exactly what you need, there are other days when it's exactly what you do not need.
Yeah.
Where you really need to move, you need to walk and talk, to get some fresh air, to clear those thoughts, to even spend a short amount of time with a friend, with your partner. Last night, Tom and I took a walk on, it's called the Tart Trail here. It's such a lovely trail, and they've just put in the Conservancy put in this gorgeous seasonal garden, and we both just had a day and needed to move it, needed to talk through it, needed to get it out, needed to go. And by the time we got back from it was like an hour in total, we were both so energized and feeling so much calmer and relaxed. And of course, it's because we support each other, but we were also in nature. We were also moving. We were also in awe of all of the buds and blooms. And it was in that 1 hour, everything changed. You can absolutely release anxious thoughts, and all of these things help. And we are here to help. Before we close today, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And we thought it would be a good idea to make all of our First Responder Series courses for anxiety attacks, health anxiety, and social anxiety on sale. So we put those on sale for 25% off the regular price through the end of May. And all you have to do is use the coupon code SPRING2021 at the checkout. And you can explore all of our first responder courses at anxietyslayer.com or at anxietyslayer.teachable.com. And again, that coupon code is SPRING2021.